Alright guys, we are back for our conclusion of this week's Pauper Ponderings. As you guys probably know, we played Sultai Lantern Control, or Sultai Lantern, or Sultai Control, or Lantern Control, whatever you want to call it. We played it. So we went 3-0, which is pretty sweet. We played against, I guess, not so much tournament staples like last week where we just kind of got destroyed by Tron 2 rounds in a row. This week we played against kind of mid-range green decks that didn't have a lot of interaction, and that definitely helped us because they weren't able to remove our combo pieces like our Ivy Lane Denizens or our Essence Wardens or our Carrion Feeders, and then obviously these guys are kind of hard to interact with just in general. But the fact that, if we remember in game 2 or in round 2 when we just went, turn 3 safe hold delete Carrion Feeder, past they didn't play a blocker, and then we played Ivy Lane Denizen and killed them out of nowhere on turn 4. That was pretty sweet. Against decks with a lot of removal, I do think it may be a bit more of a stretch to maybe go 3-0. But again, we did play against Grixis in that last round. They had, from the looks of it, a lot of removal: Chainer's Edict, Firebolt. But you play against decks, and I talked about it in terms of, kind of bringing up the context of Modern. Grixis control decks, the ones that like Corey Burkhart and Kevin Jones have made popular, they're really bad against cards like Voice of Resurgence and cards like Kitchen Finks. And while Safe Hold Delete is no Voice of Resurgence and Renclaw Troll is no Kitchen Finks, they do pretty good impressions in Pauper. Having to deal with, just these threats that continue to come back, and then you add Ivy Lane Denizen into that mix, and well, these become unkillable threats for a deck that doesn't have any sort of exile. So I definitely see where, a good nucleus that this deck presents, and a lot of, red-based removal strategies are going to have trouble, not so much dealing with the combo maybe, but just dealing with this kind of package. In terms of the Thought Picker Witch, we didn't get to do it too often. It was decent the times we did do it, but a lot of the times we were kind of just beaten down with guys. But I was overall happy with the deck. I liked the Maul Drifters. Didn't get to cast Deep Analysis too often. So let's get right down into it. The good, the bad, and the ugly for Sultai Lantern Control. First off, the good. I've already brought it up, but the package of Renclaw Tro, Safe Hold Elite, and Ivy Lane Denizen, mixed with either the, Carrion Feeder, Thought Picker Witch, Essence Warden, seems to be, very, very potent. And now with the bannings of Peregrine Drake, if the format gets to a more grindy-esque kind of meta, where it's a lot of mono-black control, maybe we move into more of this blue-black control deck, like the Demir Teachings deck, I think this is not the worst deck to play, because again, you have the I-Win factor in the little combo here. You have the Thought Picker Witch interaction that is going to be very good against a deck like Teachings. But then again, you have this very resilient mid-range creature package that I do think can go toe-to-toe with a deck like Mono Black Control. So in that regard, I am very, very happy with it. Now, in terms of the bad, not a lot. I was pretty impressed with this list overall. The one thing I will mention, though, I kind of brought it up in some of the games, is, we're playing a 3-color deck. And at the end of the day, 3-color decks in Pauper, it's almost like you're not supposed to be able to do that. Because you can see here we have a bunch of forests, we have a couple swamps, 2 islands, then we have some jungle hollows, and we have 4 evolving wilds. So to be able to play on curve with this deck, a deck that kind of wants to play on curve, a lot of the time you're stuck playing a 1-drop on 2, or a 2-drop on 3, or a 3-drop on 4. But again, that's kind of the payoff. You get a little more powerful of a mid to late game with the 3 colors. It's just, it can see, some of my practice games against Mono Green Stompy and Mono Red, you kind of get run over pretty quick. But I think that's just a testament to 3-color mana bases in the format are just going to be weaker on the whole against the faster decks. And we don't expect to be good against everything. Obviously, the sideboard is going to clear that up. In terms of the sideboard for bad, I brought the Caustic Caterpillars in. Probably wasn't correct now, thinking about it again. Then the Gates and the Dispels were good, as we saw. Tragic Slips were fine. Chainer's Edict was fine. If I would have played against Goblins or anything, I think Shrivel would have been okay. In terms of what I would change, maybe the Caustic Caterpillars are not the best. I'm not sure what we want in this spot. Maybe it's just like a natural state or a naturalize. I understand the synergies and stuff, but this is pretty slow. It sits in play. It kind of lets them do things. So yeah, I can see that maybe this Caustic Caterpillar becomes something else. Everything else, though, I was pretty happy with. I can see games where Shrivel is good, and I've played a lot of Pauper decks that have Shrivel in the sideboard that I've been happy with. The mono white tokens deck that, you know, does a good job of going wide. Cards like Shrivel are good against it, and especially the Goblins deck. And if that deck starts to pick up a little more steam, I can definitely see wanting some Shrivels. In terms of the ugly, you know what? I have to say I couldn't think of anything ugly about this deck. We went 3-0. I felt good in all those matchups that we played. If we're talking pure ugly, I don't want to be a jerk, but I think it's just Thought Picker, which she's a pretty good card and obviously very good in a lot of matchups, but, well, say no more. She's not somebody that I want to be waking up next to. No, I shouldn't say that. So waking up and seeing first thing in the morning, let's say. Yeah, she's pretty scary. And I guess, you know what? I'm going to say this whole deck's pretty scary. This Carrion Feeder, you don't want to run him into the... Like, what is this second head doing? That's kind of rough. Changer's Edict, like I think I brought this up yesterday. This art, you know, pretty gruesome. And then, you know, even this little potbelly guy. Renclatro. I had no idea what this card was, to be honest. I had to gather this guy. So nothing ugly about the deck makeup, but, you know, some of the art. Pete Venters... Brian Smokely, and Warren Maybe. You guys make some pretty good art. Even Grapple with the Past. Harold Line. That thing is pretty scary. If that thing's getting my teddy bear, I don't want to be on the other end of it. Well, guys, thanks again for watching this week, Pauper Ponderings. Make sure you leave a comment either in the Reddit thread that I'm going to make this in, or on the article, or on the YouTube video, letting me know what decks you want me to see or what decks you want me to play next week. I am always interested in playing your guys' brews. That's what I made this for. I want to play interesting decks. Pauper is an awesome format, but it gets stale sometimes because, again, cards are not very powerful. It's hard to innovate. So I am in. Let me be your guinea pig. Let me play all the weird, kooky decks that you're maybe thinking of or you want a second opinion on. I'm in. Post your lists. Get in touch with me. Austin. Check us out, the Mana Base. New content every single day. This is Pauper Ponderings. This was Sultai Lantern Control. I am Austin Holy. Thank you for watching. See you next week.